All right, in studio today with me is one of my students, Dana Daniel, and we are going to be talking about surgery for fat loss. We're going to hit on gastric balloon and gastric sleeve, and we will probably talk a little bit about need for skin removal and how to prep for that and so forth. So, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, this is very exciting. So let me just give you a smidge of background here on her. She came to me in January of 2020.
Yes.
And she weighed 252 pounds at that time, was 51% body fat, and she had 68 pounds of skeletal muscle.
Thanks for all those reminders.
Yeah. Now, so
it's hard to think back.
I know. Well, yes, and this is why I keep really good data on people.
You do.
So now, by May, so January to May, she went from 252 pounds down to 231.
Yes.
So got a 20-pound fat loss there over a few months, which is great. She went from 51% body fat down to 46%. Now, this is something that is actually really great. Her skeletal muscle went up by 2 pounds.
Yeah.
So with a 20-pound fat loss, you actually gained 2 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, and that was right when I started with you, right?
Yes.
You said that was 20.
Yeah. Okay. Now, let me also, some people go, oh, well, she was probably a couch potato and didn't have enough muscle and came in and you started working with her and we put on 2 pounds of muscle. Well, first of all, it's very, very hard to gain muscle if you're trying to lose fat. You've got to do it the right way. And that is how I program for everyone.
Right.
But Dana did not come to me unfit. She had been working with another Strong First coach here in town, and he is far, far superior to me. He's very good. And but the reason she came to me was not because she didn't like him, but because he had decided, he wasn't doing private training anymore, but then COVID came around and he wasn't coaching.
Yeah, so when I initially came to you, it was more for the nutritional aspect.
That's right,
yes.
right. Oh, yeah, you didn't do exercise with me for a long time.
Right, so when I first started with you, it was the nutrition.
Yes, yes.
And then I think I actually I kept working out with him and added some things with you for a while.
That's right, because you were doing mostly group classes with him, and I started putting you on, I started training your deadlift, your heavy back squat, the things that you really don't do easily in a group class.
So I went and got my butt kicked with him.
Yes.
And then came back for more with you.
Yeah.
And then he did stop training.
Yeah.
That was, I think, actually in 21. It was it was like around May of 21. He just had too much going on, and so he had to stop.
Yeah. Now, we've already got good wins here with fat loss plus muscle gain, which people will often tell you can't do. Now, then we have January to June of 2021.
Yep.
And you started creeping back up, and you ended up getting a heavier weight than when we started. Now, your percent body fat was the same. You started with me at 51%, and even in June of 2021 at your highest weight, you were still only 51%.
Okay.
So you actually gained another 2 pounds of muscle.
Yeah.
With that. So, which is good because a lot of times when people start gaining fat, it's because they are being more sedentary, and they'll end up losing muscle and gaining fat.
Yeah.
And that's a definitely bad way to go.
Yeah.
You gained both.
Woohoo.
All right. Well, yeah. Which one do we want to say? All right. So I need you to take it from there.
Okay.
I want to talk about two things. You had lost weight before ever coming to me and gained some back. So let's talk about that.
Yes.
And then let's talk about, because they're tied together, why you started gaining weight back even when working with me.
Okay.
So tell me your story pre-coming to me.
Okay. So I would actually start the story in 2018. because I had reached my highest weight at that point. So, which was, I mean, let's just say it was 320 pounds. And as a person who is only 5'3", you can imagine. Or maybe you can't. I don't know. But that was my highest weight, actually. And so in 2018, I was in a bad place. I was depressed. I'd get home from work. I'd go to bed. I was doing nothing. I decided I had to do something, or I was, on a route to, like, die at some point as a young person. So I had the gastric balloon at that point.
In 2018?
2018.
Okay.
So that was about May of 2018. I was looking for something, so I did research, and I didn't want to do a surgery that permanently, changed my anatomy. So I found this gastric balloon. I found a local doctor that did that, and had that done, lost about 60 pounds with the gastric balloon. So that is, I don't even actually know if they still do it much. But it is honestly, literally a balloon they put in your stomach that takes up space so you can't eat as much. And it stays in for 6 months. So I had that balloon in my stomach for 6 months, and then they took it out. It was not a fun process, just going to say. I was pretty sick during it. I mean, you can imagine having a balloon in your stomach, what that does to you. But I lost 60 pounds, got down to about 260 or so. And so also during that time, that fall of 2018 is when I first started working out with a trainer. So it was at a local gym, and just the trainer that they assigned me. And it was the typical kind of, since I'm not going to mention any names, I'm just going to,
let's just call it, it was probably your bodybuilding split.
Yeah.
Bis and tris, shoulders, tris, leg day.
Yeah. I mean, except
cardio.
I couldn't do much at that point. Yeah. I was incredibly unfit at that point. So, they had me doing kind of the basic stuff. So from like the fall through the spring, I think I went through like 3 different trainers because, they'd move or they'd quit that gym or different things like that. So then the next year in 2019, someone referred me to a lady that was Strong First certified. And that was my first taste of kettlebell. And that was pretty awesome. We would meet literally at the tech campus at a workout area outside at 5 a.m. And she started showing me some things. She's the one that sent me over to the master trainer person. I don't know if we're using names.
Oh yeah, we can call Jason Marshall by name anytime. Okay. He's just so spectacular.
He is. So she then introduced me to him because she had trained with him for quite some time, and that's how I got started with Jason. And boy, did I drink the Strong First Kool-Aid. I drank it give me more, but if, he's just amazing. And so started with him. And so I was doing some pretty good workouts then when I found you, working out with him. I, was starting to get stronger, starting to, get some things where I could do some things. Found you the next year in 2020. It was, I was looking for that nutrition piece. I actually saw an ad that you had on TV. That's how I found you. And I actually asked Jason about you. I was like, hey, do you know this lady? I think she does Strong First. He's like, yeah, I know, Carrie, And so started with you, and that's kind of where then, you started in 2020. Okay. We started with that nutrition piece.
So you said you got down to about 260.
After the balloon.
Which is, and that's about, you came to me at 252.
Yep.
So this is something that is very interesting, and this is important for people to understand that our brains have, and we'll talk about this on another day, a hypothalamic set point where our weight wants to stay. your weight loss from 320 to 260 was real. And you got a little below that.
Yes.
But I suspect that you didn't hold that 260 long enough. Well, you didn't hold the 250 and the 230 long enough, because when you went back, you came back up to that 260 level.
Yes.
But you didn't ever go above that.
I pretty much, that's where I maintained.
Yeah. So
And I had gotten down below it, but then I would just bounce back up, and that was the frustrating thing. That's what led me to the next step,
Right.
of having the gastric sleeve surgery.
So one of the things that they talk about in any of these, whether it's balloon or gastric sleeve, they have recommendations on what you need to eat the first week
Sure.
and the second week and so forth. And they also tell you, okay, so here's a quote from one of the websites. And this is on week 2. Let me look at it here. Week 3, there's a comment in here about continue eating with the new healthy skills that you've put into
Right.
action.
Right.
Okay, so this is
they've
something.
done surgery, so suddenly you have
Yes.
skills.
So suddenly you have skills, and you've gone 3 weeks with eating basically nothing, because if you eat anything else, you're going to puke and
Sure.
be sick.
Oh yeah.
And now they're saying, now that you have these new skills. Well, you came to me after your balloon surgery, and you did not have any nutrition skills.
Oh, no.
You did not
No.
know how to change your lifestyle, your
Nope.
behavior. You didn't know food prep. You didn't know which foods were ideal for you.
Nope.
I had to teach you that. So there is a lie going on that they actually teach you about that sort of thing once you have your surgery. But even so, a lot of people might say, well, Carrie, you failed with her. Because, yeah, sure, you pulled 20 pounds off and you taught her all these great and wonderful things, but then she just kept putting it back on. All right. Now, this is the next thing I want to talk about briefly. What did you start figuring out about yourself and your eating patterns
Oh gosh.
as we were working together and you were gaining weight back? What was going on?
I just ate a lot, honestly. So, and here's the thing too. So before I had that gastric sleeve surgery in May of 21. So I had been with you a year and a half.
Okay, yeah, people don't know that you had the sleeve yet.
Oh, we haven't gotten there yet.
Well,
Okay.
yeah, but the point is, yeah, she ended up having a gastric sleeve surgery with me.
Yes.
But why did we have to go that route? What did you learn about your binge eating, your eating behaviors, that you realized that even with all of the things you were learning, it wasn't enough?
Right. So I think that, it was amounts of food, honestly. I was a binge person. Really and truly. I changed a lot of the types of food that I was eating. And as evidenced by when I had that sleeve surgery, they did a biopsy of my liver.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful. My liver was beautiful.
So you're 200 and some odd pounds, and
Right.
you don't have fatty liver.
Nope.
Exactly.
No fatty
because
liver.
we were keeping your health at a pretty good place.
And blood work years prior to that, probably 4 or 5 years, I had fatty liver.
Yeah.
So I know that I had that previously. So I was changing the things that I was eating. I was not changing the amounts.
Yeah.
I would still, don't get me wrong, I would still have things that I shouldn't. I would still have the sweets. I would still, have moments. But it was becoming where I was making that shift in the things that I was eating to getting those seed oils out of my life.
Mm-hmm. Lower carbs.
Lower carbs, the healthier fats.
Yes.
All those kinds of shifts that you encourage your people to make. I was making that.
And increasing protein.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was just eating still way too much.
Right. So this is where a lot of people people don't have a concept of how much food they're consuming in a
Nope,
day.
I don't think so.
Especially those of us who are we're
Yeah.
I'm going to label ourselves, you and I, as binge eaters, which we are, and not everybody does that. But everybody that is gaining weight or not losing weight, at the end of the day, they're eating more food than they need.
Yep.
And we are oblivious to how much food we eat. So even though you were eating meat, a little bit of cheese and yogurt, lots of veggies, high quality fats, fruit here and there, sweet potatoes here and there, total volume was just too much. It was not just too much for maintenance, it was too much, and it was causing you to gain weight.
Yeah.
And then when you would go really off and eat a bunch of junk and donuts or whatever, the calories were even just more sky high. So you learned that you had a portion control problem, that even with a lot of different tools in your toolbox that I had taught you, you were still having a lot of trouble dialing it in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So she came to me and she said, I want to do gastric sleeve. I'm like, oh, Lord, please no.
Oh, I know. I didn't want to tell you.
Yes, I was so unhappy about that.
I was like,
but let me
I
tell
don't
you
wanna tell
part of the
Carrie.
reason I was unhappy. Well, one, I was hoping she was doing the balloon again,
Yeah.
because I also like the concept of the balloon being temporary,
Yeah,
and
just-
it doesn't cause any permanent damage to the
Right.
stomach. Now, a lot of the gastric bypass surgeries from the past were very they would cut out whole portions of the stomach. And people think of the stomach as being a big ball. And like in every part of the ball being the same, but it's not true. It's more oblong, and the cells that are up in the top part of the stomach are different than those that are in the middle, and they are different than those that are at the bottom. And they all have a different job to do.
Right.
Well, some of the previous surgeries would cut out cross sections of the stomach, which they might cut out complete cell types. And I did not want that for you, because that means you're missing part of the body that is necessary to do work.
Right.
The thing about the sleeve is it does cut long ways along the stomach. And so it actually leaves some cells of every necessary type in the stomach. So that made me feel better. And because I thought, okay, I can work with this. I understand she's going to have her parietal cells and her gastric cells, and everything is going to be there. So she'll just have less of them. So anyway, you were going to do what you were going to do. And my goal is optimize people's health. First and foremost, and help them with whatever goal they have. So then my job was get you to eat what you need to eat in the best way possible. So when did you have your surgery?
Okay, so the sleeve surgery was in May of 21.
Okay. All right, May of 21. Okay, good. Yes, because that's when your weight started coming back down.
Yep.
So you started right at about 260 there in May, and then it's just been ticking down ever since.
Yeah.
So let's go first to where are you now? You are at 160 pounds.
Yep.
29% body fat.
Yep.
Which puts you in the healthy range for women, and you have 62 pounds of skeletal muscle.
Oh, yeah.
Your highest skeletal muscle with me was 71, but you were also 160 pounds heavier. No, you were, how much weight have you lost?
Well, 100 pounds.
Yeah, 100 pounds heavier,
100.
which you're going to need muscle for that.
Well, and I remember after having that sleeve, coming back to you when I got back, after all of the healing and everything, and our first body scan that we did, the amount of muscle that I lost was, along with fat, was so depressing.
Okay, and that was at first.
That was at
That
first.
was at first. Right
that
at
I
first.
was like, oh my God. At first I was like, holy cow, I've just lost this weight, but like, that was so much muscle that I just lost too.
Yeah.
And that was a little disheartening, at first.
Yeah, but we weren't being able to work out then.
Right.
And the food truly was very, very little.
Oh my
and
gosh,
I want
it
to
was
talk
so
about
little.
the food.
Yeah.
Let's do that. All right. So, okay. Here's just some brainstorming thoughts that I have. You're supposed to go on a diet actually before you ever have your surgery, which I think is very interesting because it's made of protein, vegetables, and low-calorie fluids. And I'm thinking, why would you put somebody on that diet? And if they can sustain that, then why don't you just keep them on it instead of having surgery, right? Okay, that's just a side note there. But then, okay, this is where things start going awry with the diet that they put normally put people on. 2 days before surgery, you're supposed to go with a clear liquid diet. Their recommendations are like a no sugar protein shake, some broth, some water, decaf tea, and sugar-free popsicles.
Oh, yeah.
Well, there's no nutrition in that.
Nope.
So I wanted you to do something different. Like instead of broth, we do bona fide or kettle and fire bone broth.
Yep.
So then you've got glucosamine, chondroitin, hyaluronic acid, and 4 types of collagen, and we've got nutrition there. Instead of going with like a sugar-free, instead of coffee, do like a matcha green tea, and then for your beverages, stick with something that hydrates you, like Element or Elite, and I have both of those in the office. All right, so then week 1. So tell me about week 1. You had to stick with clear liquid diet, basically the same thing.
Basically, they may have let me do some full liquids because I think I remember going ahead and drinking some of the protein powders.
Yeah, I think as long as we kept it very, very liquidy, it was fine.
Yes.
But their recommendations are Gatorade, water, I know, and and again, the broth. The broth. Well, we didn't do that. We wanted kettle and fire or bona fide bone broth.
Was good.
Yeah, that
Not
bone broth
lie.
is very healing. And it's perfect for healing your
It was
gut.
so good.
It gives you great nutrition.
Did a lot
Instead
of
of
that
Gatorade, you want to do something like Element or Elite, which, like I said, I have those in the office. A lot of people are trying to do liquid IV. A liquid IV is garbage. It's got 11 grams of carbs in it. It's got sugar and dextrose. The B6 and the B5 vitamins in it are not well absorbed. The B12 is synthetic and it's not metabolized well. It has 0 magnesium.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
So when you were doing something for your electrolytes, we would have you on the Element.
Yeah, I've
And
never
so-
tried that liquid IV.
Yeah.
The elements are my thing.
Because then you have no sugar. You've got 1,000 grams of sodium, 60 magnesium, 200 potassium, natural flavor, and stevia, and that's all you have.
And I usually do about an element a day.
Oh
still.
yeah, we're on Element every day.
Oh, yeah.
Now I want to talk to you. Okay, so then you mentioned the protein shakes. Okay,
Yes.
so this is in week 2 and week 3, and really the whole time.
Yeah.
You can continue to do those protein shakes. But they are recommending things like Ensure Light and Premier Protein. So let me tell you what's in those. First of all, they list all the vitamins and minerals, but they don't tell you what form they're in. Well, I guarantee you they're not in good absorbable forms. For Ensure, you've got a milk protein concentrate, a soy protein. Your third ingredient is a canola oil, which is an industrial oil that's just going to make you sicker. It's got a bunch of synthetic vitamins and minerals in it. And it's then got asulfame potassium. Its sweeteners are ones that will kill your gut bacteria. Well, you've already had trauma to your stomach. You don't
Right.
need to kill more gut
don't need more.
bacteria.
Yeah.
Carrageenan and gellan gums, which are both hard to digest. And they're telling you, oh, you need easily digestible. But they're telling you to drink something that has a gum in it that is hard to digest. Same thing goes for Premier. You've got some casein protein that's hard to digest. Sunflower, soybean oils, and then gums are the third and fourth ingredient, all that artificial sweetener, and then a bunch of vitamins and minerals that are in poor form, so they're not absorbed well. So we have Muscle Feast protein, and we have paleo protein
Yes.
that we used for you. Those have high quality whey protein isolate, stevia only as your sweetener, and then it's either chocolate or vanilla flavored. And it is straightforward. And if you can't tolerate whey, then that's where you do the paleo protein, which actually is from beef.
Yeah, that's
And
what I do
it's-
now. But yeah, I had done the whey one right
Yeah.
after surgery.
Then also something that you added in, I know you did a magnesium powder for a while because you don't want to take a bunch of capsules. So we would do a magnesium powder. I don't think we put you on a liquid vitamin D, vitamin K, but I have that. And you can just then put those drops in that shake that you're doing. And same thing with vitamin C.
Yeah.
So when you're not being able to eat a bunch of fruit and vegetables in high volume, then those liquid, really high quality vitamins are a good way to get that.
Absolutely.
So, all right, we are back and talking with Dana Daniel about her 100-pound fat loss and how she did it using a combination of a gastric sleeve and whole real food, high protein, etc.
Yes.
And so what I want her to do now is tell me about what the doctor, the nutritionists, and the other people that had gastric sleeves, what were they recommending that you eat?
Right. So, when you first have this surgery, it's supposed to be like soft foods, right? And you get your recommendations from the surgeon. But what else do we do in today's world? We look at Facebook and the groups and think, what are people eating, And I was kind of horrified that the things that people were eating, there was like no protein. It would be like instant mashed potatoes, pudding, let's see, what else? Just like food with little to no nutritional content. And it was horrifying, and I'd go in, when I did my follow-ups with my surgeon, they'd always be like, well, are you avoiding sugars and fats? And and I just say, sure, because obviously, keeping the sugars low, but I am not going to cut out my healthy fats.
Right. Yeah.
Those are important, right? And so, some of the things that they would advise you, and of course, they'd be like vegetable oil. They'd recommend canola oils.
Those heart healthy oils.
Right, the heart healthy oils. But everything it was stuff that might have been easy to eat, but there was no protein to it.
And no nutrition to it either.
No
People
nutrition.
don't realize that there is very little nutrition in cereal, cream of wheat, pretty much oatmeal, that kind of thing.
Right.
There's no nutritional value in it.
Right. So what I learned very quickly for myself was that I only have this very small amount that I can put in my stomach. What am I going to put in my stomach that has the most nutritional content?
Yeah.
And so meat became big for me. And a lot of people talk about that they don't tolerate meat after this surgery. I know that's a common theme.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you, meat, it was almost hard. It was hard in terms of my sense of smell and my sense of taste was altered. And for some reason, like meat had almost a sulfury kind of like smell to me. And so, but I still ate it.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, if I'm sitting here looking at the options of what I'm going to put in my stomach and what does my body need the most, it's meat.
Yeah. So let me give you a little insight there. Your cells of your stomach produce acid, which digests the meat. But the protein in the meat and zinc are necessary for those cells to actually produce the acid. So if these people start moving away from meat, they actually downregulate how much acid their stomach can produce, and there's already less anyway because there's fewer cells now.
Yeah.
That then meat becomes more and more and more intolerable.
Yeah.
Where with you, we at least kept the protein powders high at first before you could really start eating
Yes.
a lot of meat. And therefore, we didn't drop your acid as much as other people may have dropped. So then you could tolerate the meat.
That's interesting.
Now, did you ever puree your meat?
No.
Okay, so I used to do that when I had braces. I would puree
I
it.
know you've told me that before, and I've been like, "Ooh, Carrie, I don't know if I'm that diehard."
So you just chewed it really
But
well.
I was, yes, and so and you know, a lot of people are told to stay on these liquid diets for weeks. I was allowed to start very well chopped up food at 1 week.
Oh, great.
And so I don't know why I was allowed that soon, or if that's just my surgeon's protocol. But one of the first things I had was rotisserie chicken, because
Yeah.
it was, you know, it had a higher fatty content and easier to go down. And I was eating meat very early on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you cook your vegetables very, very well and you chop them small and you chew them well.
Yes.
Most people don't chew their food well enough. And so I'm sure that's something that you did also, is small bites and chew well.
Oh, yeah.
You mentioned pudding. Pudding that you buy at the grocery store is garbage, but you can make your own. You could get either a non-fat or even a full-fat, plain Greek yogurt, ideally grass-fed if it's got full fat. Take that little of that yogurt, put your own cocoa powder, your own stevia, your own vanilla, whip that up, and make that into a pudding. And then you're also getting a good whack of protein with that as well.
Well, the Greek yogurt became a big part of my diet. And I know, you're always like, you know, I think you got too much dairy. We've talked about that a lot. And
dairy does stall your fat loss, but...
It does. Excuse me. But Greek yogurt it's still a big part of my diet.
Yeah. Your stomach is still small.
Yeah. So it's definitely, I can eat. So what I can eat now, I consider probably a normal portion.
Yeah, yeah.
For what should be a normal portion for most people. So obviously, you know, most restaurant meals, I sit down, I can't eat the whole thing, but those things are huge, you know. But I can eat a pretty good amount now. But my mind still works in a way. So I'm sitting down, and let's say that I've got a burger, right? Well, I'm like, which part of this burger do I need to make sure and get in my stomach? It's the meat.
Yeah.
It's the meat, right? And so if I sit down with a burger, I may have a little bit of the bun, but I make sure all that meat gets in my stomach.
Yeah.
So that's just how my brain thinks now.
That's perfect.
For every meal that I have.
Yeah, prioritize. And we should do that regardless of what size our stomach is.
Well,
right?
sure.
Yeah,
sure.
you know, eat your meat first.
Yeah.
Eat your vegetables second. If you still think you need more, then you start filling in the blank with other things.
Exactly.
Another thing that the nutritionists recommend are like soft noodles, cream of wheat, hot cereals, oatmeal, fruit juice, mashed bananas and mangoes. That is pure sugar, hardly any nutrition.
I shudder at the thought of where I would be right now if I had followed their recommendations. Yeah. I really do, really and truly. I mean, I'm 2.5 years out now. I have not had any regain, and I just shudder at the thought if I had eaten the way they told me to.
Let me tell you some stats here. I got to pull this up. Okay, so first of all, there are disclaimers that say, okay, most people gain a little bit of weight back, right? Let me tell you what the true statistics are.
Yeah.
The true statistics are for every 100 people that weigh approximately 300 pounds, 22 of them will never get below 180 pounds. Okay, so that's the first statistics, because most people, women in particular, are going to need to be well below 180.
Yes.
But so 22 of them will not actually get there. All right, 22%. Now, this is the other big statistic that they don't tell you. But there was a big systematic review, and they found that, okay, I'll give it to you in their words and then the translation. 76% of patients had significant weight gain at 6-year follow-up. So, in other words, that is, let's say you have 100 people. Let's say they went from 300 pounds to 180 pounds. 76% of them will go back up to 225 or heavier.
Yep.
225.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is morbidly obese.
That's significant.
Yeah, that is
yeah.
that's insane. So 76 people out of 100
Yeah.
will go back to at least 225 pounds.
Yeah.
They don't tell you that. And the reason
No.
why is because they never learned to eat the right foods in the first place.
Right.
They never learned the right behaviors in the first place. If you're eating for weeks and weeks, you're eating mashed potatoes, fruit juice, oatmeal,
Yep.
that kind of stuff,
Yep.
you are training your brain to be a sugar addict.
Well, and let me tell you something too. In the first 6 months after this surgery, you're going to lose weight regardless of what you eat.
True.
You know,
Oh, yeah.
because you are eating so little, it's going to fall off. And the more you have to lose, you know, the more you're going to lose. It's after that 6 months. And do you know what's interesting too is I hear a lot of people saying, well, if I don't, my tool only works for 6 months, and after that I can't lose any more weight, or I can't lose any more weight after a year. I'm like, well, what the crap then? If we had no control like that and decisions over our body, we'd all be in trouble. You know what I mean? The tool is there, but once you get past that honeymoon period, it is on you.
Yeah, 6 months out, you've stretched your stomach back out enough that you can start to consume a lot of food again.
Oh, and there's, the slider foods they talk about that are the crackers, the chips.
Oh, yeah.
Things like that. You can sit there and eat those popcorn and you won't get full. You could, you might get full, but then 30 minutes later, you could start again and you could just eat and eat and eat on them all day.
Yeah, yeah. And
So-
people will do that.
Yes.
That's why you have
Yes.
76% going back up to 225 pounds. Now, we're talking about not gaining weight back, but we have another benefit to eating the healthiest foods, prioritizing meat, etc. And when I look at Dana, I'm used to seeing her, and I'm used to looking at people's bodies. So I can tell when she's got clothes on that she's got extra skin.
Yes.
And you do have a lot of extra skin.
I do.
But you, with clothes on, do not look like a deflated balloon.
Oh, well, thank you.
Her face is vibrant. The color is good. There's not a bunch of, she's not lost her butt. She's not lost all the muscle in her face. You can tell when people have gone on a weight loss surgery, or when they've been on Ozempic or Wegovy or one of these
Yes.
drugs. They just drop this fat and they lose muscle, and they didn't do it healthfully, and their skin is weird and their hair is weird and everything is weird.
Yes.
So, and you do not look that way.
Thanks.
Also, her strength training, the only reason we've had to take a break on her strength training is because she had some ankle surgery.
Oh, my gosh, yes.
But had she not had ankle surgery twice,
I know.
we would have been hammering your
would have.
weightlifting.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
even with the ankle surgeries, I told you what her muscle is. Her muscle is not down.
Yep.
And so she's got all this muscle, and now she's just got a bunch of skin hanging on her muscle.
Yep.
And so you are going to go have it removed.
I
When does
am.
that happen?
That is November 13th.
Okay. Oh my
So,
gosh.
I
That's
know.
in like 2 weeks. Or 4 weeks.
4 weeks and 6 days.
Yeah. So
Not that I'm
is-
counting
that's
down.
That's coming really soon. And so it is vital for her to continue her high quality diet going into
yes.
this surgery
Yes.
so that she handles anesthesia well, so that she goes into the surgery well and she heals well.
Yep.
All that's super important. And so you're continuing to eat the good food, and we're going to do it after you get done. Let's see, what else was I going to say? Oh, we are going to have another show about skin surgeries.
Oh, okay.
And we'll do that after you're good and recovered, because
Sure.
I've also had the skin removal surgeries.
Yes.
So then we'll have really good insight into that, and
Yeah.
can tell people what it's all about. And it'll
I'd
be
love
great
to.
having two perspectives. So that'll be awesome. What is your So what else do you need to say here? What have we not covered? Things that you liked that helped you about having the surgery that you think you couldn't have done on your own otherwise?
The surgery, it helped me get my portions obviously where I needed them to be.
Okay.
It gave me that boost to finally, it was like I was at a wall that I couldn't get past. We talk about that, regulation. Your body kind of hits this set point, and I was personally struggling with it. For me, too, I would say that my initial motivation back in 2018 came from something that I wanted to do badly, and that was to ride horses.
Oh, yes. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So my daughter started riding in 2016. We purchased our first horse in 2017. And I got on her for the first time around the time we purchased her. Now, let me preface this by saying this is a draft breed horse. She's a big girl, so I wasn't abusing a horse by getting on a horse while weighing that much. But it took 4 people to get me on this horse and to make sure I didn't fall off of this horse and walk me around. But I wanted to ride so badly. I wanted to. And so in 2008, that was sort of my motivation in 2018. And I will truly say, finding that joy in getting on horses is what motivated me.
Yeah.
And I tell people, what is your joy? What is your joy? What drives you? Because having that, so that was then when I had the sleeve surgery, I felt like I was at a wall with my riding, with my weight loss, and I needed to do something. And so that's what I chose to do. And this past summer, I was able to go to my first rated show and jump on this horse.
Yeah.
And I'm actually, I feel like I'm hoping the trainer would agree with me, but I feel like I'm actually improving and I'm getting somewhere with my riding, and I'm a 44-year-old woman. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's not easy.
Yeah, yeah.
As someone who hasn't ridden all their life, but it's truly a joy for me. The other thing is like falling in love with Strong First, and I am going to get that certification if it kills me. But having goals, having things that bring you joy,
Yeah.
are so big in life.
Yeah.
And I'm a lucky individual right now in that my kids are grown, so I'm not raising young kids. That's a hard place to be in when you're trying to take care of yourself. I have enough income to support things that bring me joy. Mm-hmm. So I'm very blessed with that. And then making what we're doing a lifestyle.
Yeah.
We went to Costa Rica to my brother's wedding back in April. And I was like so worried I was going to come back like 10 pounds heavier, because you're not weighing food there.
And you're going to have some alcohol, and it's a wedding,
yes.
so there's cake and deliciousness.
Carrie. There were indulgences. But do you know, every meal I had, I found myself starting with the meat and making sure I ate my meat. And that's just how I eat now.
Yeah.
That's how I eat, is I make sure I prioritize how I eat. And if there's room for something else, okay, I'm going to have a little something else.
Yeah. I also, one thing I'll do is first, yes, I always prioritize meat, and then I will exchange either junk or sweets. I'm going to say sweets for alcohol.
Oh.
So there may be a day that, on a vacation, that I go, wow, we're going to eat at some really cool restaurants. I think I'm going to, eat mostly, let my indulgences be food related.
Yes.
But then on another day, maybe not a bunch of nice restaurants, but some cool bars.
Yeah.
So then another day, it'll be like, okay, I'm going to let alcohol be my indulgences today.
Sure.
And not the food.
Yeah. And I still I don't want people to think I don't have indulgences.
Yeah.
Like, I do. There has been Cheesecake Factory cheesecake in my life.
Uh-huh.
There has been, you know what I mean? Like, but it's not all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the big difference.
Yeah.
I think. And it's sort of that 80%, you know what I mean? And then you have the 20%. And I think you still have moments like that, but just a way that you learn to live that you like and you enjoy, and I will say the psychological part of the gastric sleeve surgery was the hardest part
Tell me what you mean by that.
because food was comfort.
Oh, it's almost like you had to mourn a loss.
I did.
Yeah,
I
I know what
would
you're talking
say I have to mourn a loss. Food was comfort for me. And there were tears shed when I could not eat
Yeah.
what I wanted to. And, there's people that are back and forth about, is food addictive or is it not addictive? And I'm sorry, but when you're shedding or you're shedding tears because you can't have a food,
Yeah.
something's going on in our brain.
Yes.
that
yes.
makes us, you know what I mean? It may not
Yeah.
be the same. It's not like maybe heroin, but something is going on in our brain that makes us want that food that bad.
Yeah.
And that it's such a big part of our life,
Yeah.
to let it go. It's that painful.
And I'm 11 years out from my big fat loss.
Yeah.
And there are times that I still have that feeling.
Yes.
There are times that I am making a choice to eat a meat instead of something else, or skip some alcohol, or do whatever. And it's almost like this little gut punch
Oh, yeah.
of like,
yeah.
you can't do that.
Yeah.
And a little bit of sadness comes over me.
It is.
And you're like,
Yeah.
why?
Right.
What happened to my brain at some point that made me so attached to food?
That's what I'm
That I
saying.
still feel
There's
sadness even now. It's a big deal. And,
There's something to it.
And people don't want to realize that they are addicted to food the way they are.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, that's really, really hard. I like what you said about finding your joy. Mine was a combination of things. My joy
yeah.
was my nephews. It was also living in San Francisco and having the opportunity to go and do things I'd never done before. And I wanted to wear certain clothes. And, if I wanted to go hike in Muir Woods, and see the beauty, I wanted to have the energy to do it.
Oh, yeah.
And
yeah.
not that I could not have done those things at a higher weight. They just would not have been quite as fun and efficient.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So you were still riding a horse at the heavier weight,
Right.
but it was different.
It was. So we ride English, and it's, dressage and hunters, jumpers, and these kinds of things. And you're, posting at the trot, and it takes a lot of work.
Yeah.
And I was, getting stronger, and I was able to do more things, but I just knew that if I wasn't able to shed the weight, I would not be able to advance, or at least have an opportunity to advance into the things that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
That it would continually hold me back. And as someone that was over 40, you start thinking, how long, you know what I mean? Do I have to do this kind of stuff?
Yeah.
And so, at this point, I very much hope I still have 20 years of writing ahead of me. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right.
And these kinds of things, and maintaining the strength that I have, and being able to do that. And I don't, I'm not looking to, for big things with my writing. I just want to be able to have fun with it.
Right. It's fun. Let's finish up here talking just a smidge about our workouts.
Okay.
So, with the way I coach and the way Jason Marshall coaches, who you were with prior to coming to me, we prioritize, with regards to barbells, barbell deadlifts, barbell front squats, Zercher squats, back squats, barbell military press. With kettlebells, we emphasize kettlebell swings, kettlebell cleans, kettlebell snatches, kettlebell single arm overhead presses, double kettlebell squats, Turkish get-ups with a heavy kettlebell overhead. That's primarily
I think that sums it
what
up.
the workouts are. And you go heavy.
Yes.
And there's also a specific technique to it. So somebody goes, oh, well, I barbell deadlift or I barbell back squat. Do you? Do you do it right?
Right.
Do you breathe right? Do you go low enough? Do you create enough tension? You know, do you actually do it right? You know,
Right.
tons of people use kettlebells because it's a thing now, and they have no training in it. But and we watch them and we think, should I intervene because they're going to hurt themselves?
I know.
Or should I
Yeah.
intervene because they're totally just wasting their time?
Yeah.
You know, and then
Yeah.
we don't. We just go,
Nope.
nope. If
Nope.
they need help,
None of my
they'll
business.
ask for it. You know. And so, but there's so much technique to that.
Yes.
To do it right. And then body weight. So we also know how to use our body weight. There are times that we are in situations where we don't have any weights with us. And so we have to use our body weight. So knowing about tension and irradiation and breathing style while you're doing body weight movements, push-ups, body weight pulls, body weight squats even.
We've done a lot of that kind of stuff as I've been coming back from my ankle surgery.
Yeah, and I've had to put you on some things that we don't do regularly
Right.
in our training, but
Right.
work for recovery type things.
Yep.
So some dumbbell flies and lateral raises and some things because you can't at the moment weight yourself heavily
Right.
on the ankle.
Right.
So what can we do with little weight? And we're not talking about doing, 3 reps of 20 or 3 sets of 20, and
Yeah.
we're like, it's,
Yeah.
and it's about creating tension. And so, that's how we do it.
Yep.
And it's kept muscle on you, even through all this fat loss.
Yep.
It's brilliant. And it'll help you recover after your skin surgery also.
Yes, ma'am.
So
looking forward to it.
All right. Anything that you want to add before we get out of here?
I don't think so. This was
Okay.
fun. Thanks for having me.
Oh, it's good to have you. All right. I'm going to get the dog out. Now, radio people can't see the dog, but video
No.
people can, so she's saying hello. That's all for today, and I'll be back here again on 580 KRFE Lubbock on the second Tuesday of the month. Please like, share, and subscribe to my Rumble, YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook pages, and remember to eat well, move often, get outside, and love your neighbor. I'm not a medical doctor, and I do not diagnose and treat disease. The contents of this show are for entertainment and educational purposes only. Nothing in this show should be considered medical advice. Please consult your licensed and credentialed functional medicine practitioner before embarking on any health and dietary or fitness change. Have a good day.